All right, welcome everybody. Kicking things off, and really excited to welcome Brett here today. Moving the intro up to the beginning a little bit more so that you get the intro before we start pitching. Brett, as I've told you, I'm one of the top serial entrepreneurs in town, and also a really prolific angel investor. I've been able to invest in his last two businesses, and really, honestly, money I got from investing in Bizarre Voice helped me pay for a lot of the beginnings of Capital Factory, because I was like right around the same time, and so that was a really great thing for me. And I think I also mentioned Bizarre Voice was a company that started from scratch and then ended up going public. And Brett's a really great communicator. He sends out weekly email updates that I got from the very, very beginning all the way up to when they went public, or right before they went public. And so that was really cool. I feel like I had this backseat journey behind the whole company building all the way up to the IPO. And a lot of other people did too. So Brett's really well known for that. And so he just recently sold his last company, Data.World, which we were also an investor in. And now he's thinking about what to do next. And you all should have seen his blog, Love Conquers Fear, which I mentioned. And then gotten a little background on him already. Just this morning, totally coincidentally, but he just released my interview with him on his blog. So that's up there now. So that's like the 5th episode, I think. And then yeah, so funny that then he's here at class today, and see a lot.
Totally serendipitous.
So you see a lot of Brett this week. I think we're both going to the ASL taping.
And I just recorded the 15th episode right before coming here.
Wow, he's on fire. All right, so great. So that's Brett, and that's who you get to pitch to today, which is awesome. Brett's seen a lot of pitches. Brett is also a UT Austin alumni. He went to UT, like you. He was born here in Austin, so this is Austin's kids. So great. Looking forward to seeing pitches today. We didn't see. I heard that we didn't have as many signups this week as we normally do, so I hope people are just saving it up. But please do sign up. It helps make our lives easier. We're going to always prioritize when you line up people that haven't pitched yet first, so that you can get a chance to pitch if you haven't yet. But also, remember, practice is a big part of it. And also, if you miss a class, pitching more is the easiest way to make up for extra credit. So, let's go ahead and line up on the side for pitches. Is that what's next? Or what's the next slide? Yes, that's the next slide. Go ahead and line up, and we'll go for pitches, and then we'll do demos, and then we'll jump in with Brett, and he's going to talk about Bizarre Voice. Hi. Wait, there's going to be, for pitches, you get to decide at the end if you remember which one is the best pitch.
Okay, sweet. Nice. All right, thanks for the $100.
Hi, so I was at ACL this weekend, and I was attending a concert, and one of my friends was saying she was having a little bit of a stomach issue, so she was going to go grab some water and come back and meet us right there. We're like, okay, that's fine, you go, we'll communicate with you if you need anything, or let us know. So she leaves. 30 minutes pass, and we don't hear anything from her, we don't see her, so we message her. The blue icon in the iMessage that shows you if the message is sent is stuck halfway. We try calling her, the calls are failing. Finally, my phone gets through, and we're talking to her, we're trying to hear, but it's pretty spotty, and she says she's in a medical tent somewhere. So we're asking, where are you? How do we come there and help? But the phone drops, and we don't know how to help her. Now, this should absolutely not happen in 2025, but the problem is, at concerts like ACL or large venues, over 75,000 people can be there every day, and the cell networks just get overloaded, and communication is nearly impossible, even when you just want to ensure the safety of your loved ones. So now imagine, the next time I go to ACL, I download the app MeshLink. It uses the network of devices in the areas with Bluetooth to create a mesh where I can send messages to my friend, even if she's over 1,000 meters away. I can even, using this mesh network and AI optimization, find the route with the least amount of congestion to reach her in real time throughout the day and any day throughout the weekend. either at ACL or big football games where cell networks are an issue. 0 misconnections, 0 confusion, and 0 moments lost when it matters the most. So if you want to make large events safer and more connected, join us as an early advisor or beta tester today. Thank you.
We do one thought.
One thought. Yes, I lost my thought. Awesome. Good job. You didn't say your name, so it was good to say your name first and just introduce yourself. This is definitely a big problem. I was feeling it this weekend. I mean, although I'll admit, like, I've been going to ACL since the 2nd year, and it's a lot better than it was. Like, it's really only bad, like, at night now. It used to be bad, like, all the time. It used to be impossible, and now it's, like, kind of, like, every once in a while works. So, like, I do think, like, there's a window where, like, eventually the phone company will fix it. And I also, like, you know, so I just wonder about, like, all kinds of technical things. Like, will the Bluetooth work, or will it be overwhelmed by 75,000 people? You know, like, right? Yeah, super. I think really big problem. Definitely think people want. Not sure what the business model is. I think if you were going to, like, pitch it to investors, you might talk more about in addition to that. So that was a great, like, example of just a customer pitch, like why you use it. But you might talk more about, like, what's the business model, like how do you make money doing this or something like that. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling the pain.
Do I get feedback?
Yeah, you have a microphone.
Okay.
Blake was here last year.
Sorry.
Blake was a little gun shy with the mic, but I
really?
sense you're not going to be.
The only feedback I would have is, I thought it was really good, but I would not look at your cell phone. And maybe that's as part of this class, but I would just internalize it. I would just internalize it and just speak from the heart, because nobody remembers, I mean, nobody's gonna know what you missed. So if you just don't even look at it, you can have notes somewhere nearby as like memory cues, like maybe just 5 words or something to remind you, but in general, I would just hit and just free yourself from the phone.
Well, thank you. Good job. Can I get a thumbs up? Sorry, no? Sorry, no,
Oh,
not
no.
yet.
I thought you were waiting to bring your hand up.
No. They have to get 1 thumbs up the whole semester. Right.
From you get what?
Well, for separate from $100, they have to get 1 thumbs up the whole semester for a pitch, for a demo.
Oh, okay.
Which is the bar is impressed me.
And you did not get a thumbs up.
No, sorry. Yeah, not that one. He has to come back, we'll do it again.
That's probably pretty long. I don't know if I'd get a thumbs up from you.
We'll see if you get a thumbs up. All right, let's do it.
It's 8 p.m. and you have a project due at midnight. Now, you've blocked 3 hours on your calendar and you've got all your setup ready, you got your motivational music playlist playing in the background, and nothing can go wrong. But then you get a notification on your phone, and it's your friends in your friends' Instagram group chat, and you see a reel, you click on it, and get some few laughs out. But before you can put your phone down, your thumb magically moves and you scroll. And then you scroll again and again and again, and soon you're in this loop where you're basically doom scrolling, or you just keep on scrolling. And it's only because your phone dies that you finally look up and you see that it's 11 o'clock, and you have a project due in 1 hour at midnight. And so now you're panicking, you're scrambling through your assignment, and while you do get it submitted, it definitely was not your best work, and you're feeling really guilty because you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And that's why I built FlowLock. Now, FlowLock is an assistant that works on multiple platforms. So it works on your phone, your iPad, your laptop, and it's basically a digital friend that's there to help you stay focused. So the way it works is you put in the assignments that you want to finish, and then you also put apps that often distract you. So for example, like you might put like Instagram or TikTok or sites like YouTube. And the way it works is you basically cannot access these sites or these applications until you finish the assignment that you have. So that way, FlowLock is able to keep you focused on your goals, you're able to do what you said you were going to do, and ultimately you leave feeling confident and happy that you're able to achieve your goals. And so that's FlowLock, Focus Unblocked. Thank you.
I like it. I like the example. Like I can think a lot of times when I would use that. I mean, it seems like it's like a super screen time, and you might even say like it's okay to say that like this is like screen time, but more control or better. different, or I don't know how much you can do that with screen time, or like screen time tied to I got my thing done, right? So yeah, I think that's really cool. I don't. It sounds hard to do, just maybe not on Android, but on Apple phones. So yeah, I thought all that was good about it. Kind of like I said about the one before, like I'm left kind of wondering like what's the business model? Like, does this cost money? Like, how do you make money? Like, things like that.
Yeah, I would just say, you only have 2 minutes, and so you gave back 30 seconds, so maybe take that 30 seconds on the business model.
Cool, thanks.
Hey everyone, my name is Trace, and 6 months ago, I almost quit golfing for good. You see, I was stuck. I spent endless hours on the course, so many golf balls, buckets of golf balls, and I watched all these YouTube videos. Yet, I was flying blind. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. Every time I tried to perfect my swing, the ball hooked right into the trees. This was a clear problem. I couldn't afford a pro, so I used one of those camera-based systems that you may have seen, the ones that have like 5 different cameras that track your data. But the problem was they only rely on visual data. They don't rely on the invisible forces, the twist of your hands, the pressure that you apply on the swing. All of these can make or break your golf tempo, and that's exactly what's happening to me. So the next time we go golfing, my buddy hands me a little ring-shaped device that I just slide onto any of my golf clubs. Swing Sync is and embossed on the side and silver on it. I connect this device to my phone and I go out onto the course. I swing. My phone immediately buzzes. I look down. A 3D model of my swing has been mapped. Not only that, but there's precision. I can see that my golf club was twisted 4 degrees the wrong way. Great, that's the diagnosis. But what about a cure? This app gave me a couple of drills to solve. I solved the drills, swung, and looked down at my phone again. Great, getting better, but not quite there. Drill, swing, repeat. I repeated the process. Finally, I saw that golf ball fly straight in the air, and I got that message on my phone. Club face square at impact. Everything was good. For the past couple months, I've been using Swing Sync as my only source of golf coaching, and I have officially broke 90 at my local country club. This was a big milestone for me, and it wasn't just about the sport, it was about the confidence. When I looked down at the ball, I knew what a good swing felt like, and I knew I had the data to back it up. Thank you.
Great, that was really good. That was really solid. I think, so I can tell you little things to make it better, but it was a really solid pitch, it was good. Don't forget, Brett, you gotta remember which is the best one. I ended up like, which one's which? Okay, so, just to make it even better, like, just staying in the story, and again, like, not just saying it does these things, but making a story. Like you said, for example, like, it tells me my swing needs to be 4 degrees, whatever. And kind of the way you said it, like, I just think making it more of a story would be like, so I slipped on the ring, and the next time I swung, my phone buzzed right after, and I looked down, and I'll just jump right to like what it told you, and it told me you're twisting too much to the right, and it gave me a link to a drill I could do to try to fix it. And so I watched the video, and it just showed me, and I would actually describe the video of what you saw, and it showed me a guy doing blah 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 blah, and so then I went and I did that, and the next time it told me again. It said, it gave me the same thing, but I was a little bit better. So I did the drill some more. And then finally, like, it told me I was doing it right. And just actually talk through you doing it. Don't say it does this, just describe doing it, right? I just think the more you can do that, the stronger it would be. But that was great. Again, for everybody, it's like, and this is really hard, but like finding a way to be a little bit more smooth with the like, and the next time I went golfing, my friend gave me this ring, and I don't know what the answer is. Like, it's just like I think you can see like that. That's like probably the most awkward part. That just seemed, or at least just not awkward, even just like contrived. It's like that's where you're like, I'm giving you a little bit of a pitch right now. And so yeah, if you can find a way to tell that story differently, or to say it a little bit differently, a little bit more naturally, it's even better.
For sure, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, I thought you did really great too. One thing I would recommend is you have, the UT golfers, you have a lot of famous golfers in Austin. One thing that would make it pretty amazing is if you could say, I was talking with so-and-so and it's a recognizable golf name, and they said if they had had this from the beginning, it would have completely transformed their whole trajectory to get to where they're at. Like, then you have social proof. And even if they're just saying, like, oh, I wish I'd had this, and you're able to relay that, because then it shows that you're getting that first-party feedback from potential customers, and that social proof.
Yeah, that's a great one. Not surprising coming from Brett. But just to build on that more, I'd say for everybody, like, even saying as part of your pitch, and obviously it's always better when it's true, I've talked to this many people, and this is what I learned. This is what I heard. And not like everybody said they loved it. That's not actually very compelling, right? But like being able to say, like, it turns out, like, I've met with, 6 different golf coaches, and they told me that, this many of their students would probably, would be a fit for this because they can't afford a coach, or they told me that only 10% of their students have a coach. And, the other 90% of them would probably really benefit from this. It's like you can, like, really build that up more where you're getting this credibility of, and it shows that, like, you know a lot. Like, I've talked to a lot of people, and I know what's going on. Yeah, good job.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, good job.
Everyone.
Oh, sorry. That last one. Thumbs up.
You got a thumbs up. That was rarefied. Those rarefied errors.
Hey everyone,
No
my name
pressure.
is Josh, and I'm a junior at Texas. So, just like most of the college students out here in the audience, the first thing I do when I wake up, I go on my phone. Right? I'm absorbing social media from the moment I wake up till the wee hours of night that I go to sleep. And honestly, like, once I'm scrolling TikTok for 30 minutes, I couldn't tell you the video that I watch the first time I open the app. It's just because my brain is absorbing all of these things. And as I'm going to sleep at night, most of the time, I just feel kind of exhausted. I've absorbed so much, and a lot of it was probably negative. So I was thinking, right? Like, I have a Whoop that tracks my sleep. I have an Apple Watch that tracks my day-to-day physical activity. Why don't I have something that tracks what I'm absorbing on a day-to-day level, right? Like, this is something that I would love to know, like, how negative was my day today? So I was just talking to a ton of my friends. I was like, do you guys feel the same issue? Is this something that you guys see on a day-to-day? And yeah, like, most people think that when they go to bed at night, they're staying up an extra hour or so, just because they're absorbing so much that, they typically feel like they wouldn't on a day-to-day. So I was scavenging online, trying to find some sort of service that would tell me, this is what your overall sentiment of the day was. And I came across this Chrome extension. It was super nice and low-key. Just added it to my browser, and it would log pretty much every website that I went through throughout the day. So as I'm reading Wall Street Journal, looking at the recent trades that the Bulls made, recapping the Texas football game from this past weekend, I get an overall sort of sentiment score of the day. And that way I can make active decisions on whether or not I'm absorbing content which is actually good for my brain. So sometimes whenever I'm feeling sort of down, I just click on the extension and it suggests something unique and uplifting that I can click on to view. So for example, the Love Conquers Fear podcast, it was great. I clicked on it after reading about the terrible Texas football game, and I felt enlightened and I felt happier. So, and there were many other leaders like Brett that could sign up for the program and get more views and have more money. So that was Mindful Media. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thumbs up. I really like that idea. It makes me think of this, the AI pin that I wear, and it often gets the music that I'm listening to. And so it'll say, like, you're humming melodiously about, like, dreaming of blah, 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 I think it's starting to know the difference between when it's music and when it's me. But I thought about, like, should I delete it? And they're like, it's actually kind of cool to have it there. Like, what am I absorbing? What am I listening to? What's feeding me? And so I just asked it. I just said, was the music that I listened to this weekend, I was at ACL, was the music that I listened to this weekend generally more positive or negative in sentiment? And it said, I looked through your live logs from this weekend. Summary answer, overall music you encountered this weekend was generally positive in sentiment, lots of upbeat, celebratory, and appreciative comments, excitement about shows, people saying we fucking won this weekend, gratitude to performance, I love you guys, festival joy. There were a few neutral to mixed moments, discussing sound problems. It was kind of cheesy, and occasional frustrated comments about logistics, and then it pulls out a whole bunch of quotes. So that's just like an example of like hacking it, but I think that's really actually super interesting. And I think getting like a report or like a little like thumbs up, thumbs down at the end of the day, like how was my day,
Right.
And what you could do with that and think about that is really interesting. I know it's a company by itself, but like it's cool.
I mean, this is something that I think is urgent, actually, for your generation, for humanity. We're constantly getting programmed.
All right, now you're getting me on the spot.
And I really love this. Like, this is actually, I actually really want this to exist because, and the way I would apply it is I would add to your idea and say that everything you've looked at then gets fact-checked or not with AI and gives you a sentiment score.
Right.
That'd be very easy to do. And then gives you suggestions about how to get factual, positive programming as opposed to negative, dystopian programming.
Or like, what's influencing me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, really good job. What's the next one?
Hello everyone, my name is Adolfo. And just by a quick show of hands, how many of you watched the football game this past weekend, Texas game? Okay, yeah, that was tough. Yeah. And how many of you talked about it with friends or family afterwards? Okay, a couple. So I'm a big sports fan, and one of the things I like to do is talk about the games as I'm watching them. But this weekend, I didn't really make any plans with my friends to get together, so I ended up watching the game at home by myself. And so to have some communication, I decided to switch between different apps like Reddit, Discord, WhatsApp, and whatnot. But that whole experience wasn't great either. So I just sat there watching the game alone, really depressed. But then one of my friends sent a link to our group about this app called Lightgate. So I went ahead and I tapped on the link and downloaded the app, and I was taken into this live chat room about the game I was watching. Now, I was chatting with a bunch of different people who were watching the same game as me in real time. And so we were talking about every play, we were talking about the calls, crashing the other team. It was a really cool experience. And after that game was over, I just wiped my tears, switched my TV channel to the next game, and then just hopped onto that next chat. And so next time, whenever I'm watching a game, even if I'm at home just laying on my couch, I can watch them like I'm with the crowd. Lightbait is available in the App Store if you want to try it out. Thank you.
Is it really available in the App Store?
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So some quick feedback. Good pitch. Really good job. And it sounds like a really interesting app. I think there's a lot. This is an interesting space. I've heard of different things over time about being able to tell when games are exciting or really creating community about it. Remember Cam Hauser? Right? I can't remember his first startup. Yeah, his first startup before he did that was like, it was like basically like, it was so cool. It was like you could be your own announcer, and then other people could listen to your version of like being the announcer, or like the game analyst. So that was really fun. And so I think there's a lot of interesting things here. When you're telling the story, I would tell it like you said, but it wasn't very good. Like that's not telling a story. It doesn't even tell me why it wasn't very good. That's not very compelling. Right? And to build up even the fact of like you said, like all these people were watching the same game. You didn't build up the problem first. So you might say like, so I'm watching the game, but I didn't make any plans. So I'm sitting home by myself, and I'm like wondering like, I want to talk to people about it, right? And I'm watching the plays. So I open up my app and I go to WhatsApp, and it turns out like none of my friends are all at the game, so they're not WhatsApping, and like there's nothing to go talk about. So then I go to Reddit, and I'm searching through Reddit, but everybody's talking about last week's game. Like I can't find anything about this week's game, right? And like blah blah blah. So then I go to this other place, and like you're like actually telling the story of feeling the pain of each of those other ones, and then you can just be like, but on Reddit I saw a link to instead of like the kind of cheesy, but my friend told me to try this one. It's like, but then I read it, there was a link to this this app, about whatever. And so I clicked on that, and it took me the thing, and it showed me just the games that were happening right now. So then I clicked on the game I was watching, and everybody there was watching this game. And actually, I saw two of my friends that I didn't realize were watching the game. They were there too, and we were all talking shit about the game, doing whatever. And then right as that game ended, I was trying to figure out what to do next. And it turns out a bunch of them were going to watch this other game. I wouldn't know what to say, but this other game. And we just switched. They were all saying like, "Hey, meet me in this other room." And we all just jumped to the other room, changed the channel, and we were in the next one, right? It's just it actually is a story of what you did, and it would make it just even more compelling and better. And then when you say that to download it, so this gets back like your name. You got an accent, so like you have to say it really slowly and clearly, so that other people really get it, because we want to know your name and we want to say it right. And similarly with the app, like I couldn't go download it right now based on what you did. Like I don't know what to search for. I don't really remember the name. Like I think it's really interesting. I can't go download it. So you have to like leave me. Like so you have to be like, the app's called whatever it is. Go to the App Store and on your phone, go to the Apple App Store and search for blank. Just like make it really dumb and obvious.
Yeah. One thing that I would relate it to is during COVID time, there was the Netflix plugin that lets you watch movies together. It's called Party something. I can't remember the name of it, but I would study how successful or not that became, and if it became very successful, then related to that period. But this is obviously what you're doing is very sports focused and can cut across all platforms as opposed to Netflix, which was just on that platform. Thank you.
Great.
Last one. All right, cool. Hi, my name is Martin, and I have a shameful story to tell. Here goes. Long time ago, in a place called Seattle, Washington, I had a little marketing firm. And through luck and a good viral campaign, we were able to land Nintendo of America. There's 4 of us. They let me go to Japan to see their production facilities, and I actually had hired a Japanese person, right? So I had this client for 10 years. Did they ever learn Japanese? I ended up moving there for a year. Had a girlfriend. Never learned Japanese. Fast forward to today. I'm going back to school. I needed a language credit to graduate. And for some reason I was like, all right, I'll do it. I'll do Japanese. I can do this. I can do this, right? First semester, 601D, halfway through, my teacher's like, so this, maybe you should look at Japanese. I mean, Spanish or something else. And I was like, oh, geez. But she stuck with me. She stuck with me. And what I did was, I converted a video game that I was working on, that I was testing very, very well, with this 5 to 12-year-old demo. So I've been working on this game for like 2 years. It's like Mario Kart meets Fall Guys. Kids were getting really excited about playing this game. And then I was thinking, what if I put a Japanese learning on this? So I started testing that with myself. I needed a 72 to pass. I got a 72.6. And it's because of hard work and this video game that I built, right? And I just want to be clear, this video game was a video game and not something like Duolingo or Rosetta Stone, Pimsleur. I tried them all, right? It wasn't engaging. A person like me, ADHD, dyslexic, I couldn't get it. But a video game engaged me enough so I could learn and do it myself. So I was like, all right, if this can help me, maybe it can help other people. So I went to a couple of anime conventions and bothered parents with small children. I said, hey, can you come have your kid tested? And they were testing, and I was getting like 80 to 95% retention rate with these kids playing it for the first time. I was amazed. I was shocked. So now what do? I have to build this out, and I'm looking for somebody to help me build it out. I'm looking just for employee number 1. So if you're interested, I'd love to talk to you. Thanks.
So I think framing it a little more to what to expect at the beginning would help, because I was still waiting for you to do the pitch at the end. Like I was like, and you're like, so I'm looking for user number 1, and I'm like, what? So like it was a lot of story, and like and that was a little much because I thought it was like about to be a pitch after that, and. Let me try to repeat it back to you, like maybe see if I got it. Like what I heard from it was, I took a video game I was making and set goals around it to make me learn Japanese.
Yes.
But like while the story talked about all the challenges you had, I still can't tell you at the end of that anything about how this actually. I have no picture in my head of other than there's a Mario Kart game that teaches you Japanese. I have just no idea what it does or how it works or like, so like way less on the build-up story, like be like, hey, I tried to learn Japanese. I lived in Japan, I had a Japanese girlfriend, and I took the class, and I tried to take the class, and you know what, it didn't work for me. So I tried this, and like you could like summed up you spent like 2 minutes on that, like that's like 1 sentence, right? And then like, more of like describing giving us a picture of like what's compelling about that or why that's interesting, other than this claim that it works for you, which is like good, but like without any kind of other info isn't really credible.
Yeah, I would say that all of that, and I would say the other thing is, remember that you're pitching to people that want to be associated with winners. And I've got plenty of dirty laundry too, like failures I've had, et cetera, et cetera. But there's no reason you need to air all that. Like you spend too much time kind of self-criticizing. And it's okay, and I know that you're doing that to be relatable and be authentic, but you just spent way too much time on that, and you want to manifest in these people the ability to believe that you're the CEO and are going to turn this into a real business, as opposed to spending 2 minutes on the hardships you've had and learning Japanese.
So like,
and your bad grades and stuff. I mean, it's like, I wouldn't tell people all that.
all right, so like 20 seconds in that story.
Yeah. Just cut it down, and then talk more about me.
Okay.
So try that next time.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, thanks.
Thank
guys.
you. All right, awesome. So we're gonna jump. That was good. We had plenty of pitches today. Thank you guys, and good job. Lots of people obviously prepared. Let's keep that up for next week. Is next week?
Is 100 for one of those guys?
Oh yeah, sorry, we have to do that first. No, right now. The 100's for the pitches.
It's definitely the one. The app
Who's the winner?
The app I want created to make sure people don't.
The app that
It's overly
tracks the
programmed
sentiment
on
of what you
social
see.
media.
You win the $100.
Yeah,
Come get it.
yeah.
Woo! Give him a round of applause. Real.
So that's like prime time. Like that could really not just go viral, but you could crush it on PR. Like people are dying for that.
Awesome. All right, so keep it up for next week, and we're gonna jump into demos. Yeah, please go for it. Now this is kind of similar, Brett, but now they're showing us things they built since last week. They have a lot of range of what they could build, and some people, we have a lot of range of students here. Some are CS majors that have built things before and have programmed before and might be working in Cursor or Claude, and others might be maybe people who have never programmed before building things in Cursor or Claude or Lovable or Replit or other things like that too. So he's just grabbing some pizza, but I think he's listening. You can go ahead and jump in.
Hey, my name is Reggie. So I'm a junior at UT, and I built a consumer app called Shop AI. The story behind this weekend, I was at Costco, shopping with a friend. Going to Costco, I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy, beef, chicken, eggs, milk, and nothing else, right? But as I'm walking through the store, oh, that's a nice shirt. Oh, that's a nice, shorts. Or, oh, baguettes, protein powder, and by the end, I reach checkout, I have like a cart full of stuff that I want, but probably wouldn't be very financially smart to buy. So I started to look at the cart, and I imagined like an app. Like, what if I could take a picture of the shopping cart? An AI can analyze everything in here, go online, find identical or alternative items, and the stuff that I don't need immediately, it can help me save a couple dollars. And across every single trip, I can stack up some money. So I started tinkering around this weekend, and then I built an app. So the $1 billion idea is that you take a picture of the shopping cart that identifies every single item, and then I have an agent go online and then navigate every single checkout process, right? Because you can definitely take a picture or like go online and search a protein powder and find the best alternative, but you have to go to every single checkout page, put in your credit card, your shipping information. So what if you could just make like a buy decision directly within the app, like click a button, and then the AI goes online and buys it for you, right? So that's a $1 billion idea, but I built out like a quick MVP, and what it does is it scans an item, goes on to Amazon, and finds the same thing, so that hopefully you can be a better informed buyer. So here's the demo. So I have my water bottle right here. What I can do is take a picture of it. It's finding the product on Amazon right now. And then hopefully it returns something. Perfect. So here we have a list of all the awalas on Amazon, and if Costco is selling one for like $35, I can save $5 buying it on Amazon. And I can add it to cart, go to my cart, have a lot of items here that I scan, I open on Amazon, and then I have a full list ready to buy. So yeah, that's Shop AI. Thank you.
Cool. What's your major?
I'm a business major, but I'm minoring in CS, but I'm more on the business side.
Cool. And what did you build this in?
Cursor. This is like, I feel like the perfect definition of an OpenAI wrapper, because like OpenAI just does everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think this is really cool, and you did a good job. It's not super heavyweight, and before this, people would do it with barcodes, so which doesn't work for everything, right? But if you're in a store, you can usually like hit the barcode, and then it can like really easily look it up and do that. Like I think Amazon just kind of has that built into the app, right? But I think there's a super big problem and really cool. There was a startup here in town that I think Brett and I probably both invested in called WikiBuy, that Jonathan Kuhn did, and it was eventually bought by Capital One and is part of their Capital One app and I think shopping.com. But and basically their whole thing was like, forget the but basically just I'm shopping online, and if whatever product I'm looking at, it was like a Chrome extension, go find a cheaper version of this somewhere else, including shipping and how fast it's going to get there and like everything like that too. So it kind of like did all the checkouts and everything, and it was super cool. And one of the things that they really quickly found, like kind of the 80-20 game of like what really matters or was worth it, is that actually just most of the time people were just shopping on Amazon and they would just find them a cheaper version on eBay. And that was just it. Just like 30% of the time, whenever you're buying on Amazon, there's a cheaper version on eBay, and that was their main unfortunately that was like good enough, but to like they sold it for a lot of money, but like it didn't become the unicorn they were really. But anyway, you did a really good job. I think I'd like to see a little more like depth to it, but like this is cool, and I love the use case. Brett's a shopping expert.
Well, I don't think it's durable at all. It's flying too close to the sun. The sun is the frontier models. You saw the announcements OpenAI's made with their instant checkout, and
I think today they just killed Zapier. I don't know if you saw that.
What's that?
Today they just released internal feature that basically does like Zapier in 8N8.
No, totally. I mean, they just obliterated like.
So like you can imagine ChatGPT
Yep.
just with your phone, like literally taking a picture of it and going, asking it the question, like right, like.
So you got to look for something more durable. If it's too close to the sun being the frontier models, like you've got to look on the outer layers of the onion, or you're going to just get burned up. Like it's the Microsoft Windows problem back when we were young, times 10, because Microsoft Windows would just obliterate so many companies and be like, hey, nice screensaver software package you got there. Sorry, it's just now something we do. And that's that's the most difficult thing for me to figure out in this environment in terms of what to invest in, is what's not gonna just be obliterated by frontier models. And by the way, there's probably millions of companies that aren't. I've got a thesis for that I could talk about later. I don't want to take up too much time.
Yeah, I know for me, like, it's just when I'm trying to think like what to pitch to the end of class. And when I started in the beginning, I'm thinking like, oh, I got a million ideas. And, like, I'll come up with something every week. And like, this week I'm like thinking of stuff, and I'm like, that's just a prompt. It's just a prompt. Yep. That's just a prompt. Like, you know, like I'm like, ChatGPT is just gonna do that. That's not like that's not a building anything. That's like a prompt. So yeah.
Actually, I talked about what is durable on episode 5 of Love Conquers Fear with an amazing guy named Josh Beer. No, I'm serious. I really do. Like, we actually wrote that down. I forgot that we discussed that on the episode.
Yeah. What in AI is worth the risk. All right. Good job. Let's do the next one.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Vincent, and my main inspiration behind this app was I have maybe 10 different investing apps on my phone. I have Robinhood for stocks, Coinbase for crypto, but then there's not really one cohesive app that's telling me where all my investments are, even my private ones. I have a collection of Pokemon cards from like 2005, but like who's gonna value that? Where's my collective thing that's showing me, hey, my investments are worth this much? That's why I invented this personal investment strategist. And so you can just start your journey here. I'm gonna put in a test email here. And then I'm brought to this portfolio page. The first thing I can do is then take this quiz. This quiz is just gonna ask me what are my risk profiles looking like and what type of investments do I wanna get into. So it's just a 10 question quiz, real simple. And so once I answer all of these, there's gonna be an AI system that goes in and analyzes all the questions I just put. And it's gonna tell me exactly what investments I care about and what I should be investing into. So right now it's processing, and if you give it a second, it's gonna come with an entire report. So it gave this entire report of a customized strategy that's just for me, with 10% in crypto, 30% in stocks, alternative funds, and then ETFs, and then all the considerations it got from my quiz. And then it gives me some picks that I can pick of investments I can choose. And then over here, it does the same thing, but it also gives me alternative assets, things that I would be interested in. For example, this is the price of a Pokemon card for the Charizard Pokemon card, and it's showing its price over time in the private markets. And the AI agent also scrapes the internet and finds me a marketplace where I can buy this instantly and hold that value. Another key feature I also wanted to do was, we all know like Nancy Pelosi inside trades and makes 90% returns, and then there's like the Warren Buffetts of the world, and we want to partake in that too, right? So I made this copy trade feature where I can look at the top investors, I can look at what their portfolio holdings are, itemized by their stock and different things, like for example, this is Nancy Pelosi. I can follow their strategy. I can put like, let's say I just want to spend $100, confirm and follow. So now I'm following Warren Buffett. If I go back to my portfolio, it's automatically itemized and partitioned his portfolio for my $100. And this will keep track of all my investments over time and tell me which areas I should be focusing on or which areas I should de-risk from. Thank you, and this is my product.
Sorry, that was a good job. So what's your major?
I'm computer science, and I can show you the process of how I prompted this to happen if you want to see that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so
Brett would like to say it too.
Yeah, so the way I do this for most of my projects is I use ChatGPT. So I first give it like a really rough idea of what I want. So for example, this is like a quick thing, and I ask it to generate what's called a PRD, project requirement document, and boom, it gives like an entire 2-page essay about exactly what features, what tech stack, what things I should be using. Copy and paste this into Lovable, some debugging later, and I have a fully blown app.
Awesome. First of all, good job. And there's a lot in here I really like. As a startup and as like trying to make an app, it feels like you're doing too much stuff. And so I would really focus, what sticks out to me is what seems unique to me about it was really, honestly, the part about like tracking unusual assets and maybe finding them. And the idea of like making a marketplace for those, like almost like a OpenSea, but not for NFTs, for like other things. If I was gonna, turn this back to a pitch, if I was just trying to explain it, it might be something like, like I went to go apply for a loan, and they asked me to fill out a personal finance statement. And I filled out all the forms, and it said I was only worth $100,000. But like I make more than $100,000 a year. How am I only worth $100,000, right? And I'm looking at the list, and I realize like it's not accounting for like this collection I have of all these Pokemon cards, and I've actually spent like $100,000 on the collection of Pokemon cards, but it doesn't know how to value those, and they don't show up on my mortgage, on my bank account, or on my stock trading account, or anything like that. So one, like, how do I track those and track the value? And then two, maybe a marketplace where like, how do I get more of those or do that? Maybe that already exists. It probably does. Who knows? But like to me, the idea of like thinking of like almost like QuickBooks isn't the right word, but what was it? Mint.com way back when was one of these things that would like basically like scrape your bank accounts. Yeah, and like tell you your personal finance, like how are you doing and how much money you have. Yeah, none of those things. There's a bunch of assets that are probably real that none of those things take care of, and I think that would be really cool to focus on. Thank you. Anything, Brett?
My favorite feature was the copy trade.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Because then
that's not very unique. Like there's a lot of things that do that.
Okay, well, that's where I'm ignorant.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of those things.
Okay, sorry. All right, cool. Next up.
What's up again? My name's CJ. This week I dialed it back and built something really simple. I've been very hard-headed about not using all these no-code softwares like Base44, Lovable, because it makes me feel like I'm not doing anything, but then I realized like, oh my gosh, I'll build these really cool apps with just like 2 prompts. So I gave it a try myself. I built something that I thought would have a really cool viral moment, really simple. I don't know why it's not showing up. All right, welcome to Roastmaster. It's pretty funny. You literally just upload a picture of yourself and gives you some AI roast. I definitely should have logged in before this. But I promise this demo will be super quick, unlike last time. So yeah, I dropped in a photo of myself. Oh shit, that's bad. All right, right there, it's cool. Generate roast. And in like 10 seconds, you get like 7, 8 rows. Yeah. Just like some dumb stuff. I think, apps don't always have to be super useful. As long as they're optimized for a viral moment, there's some potential to grow there. And that's literally it. Nothing crazy.
All right. And so, what do you do with the roasts? You like, you just yell at somebody?
I would imagine like you just upload a picture of your friend or something like that. Maybe slap it in the group chat if it's on like Snapchat or something like that. This is like your assistant.
Yeah.
Maybe in a different form factor, this will be a lot more useful. Like maybe if it was, you know, iMessage plugin, it could go through your,
Exactly.
because I have
Yeah,
friends who
so
are like,
that's kind of, I'm at like, first of all, I like I tried to keep it simple.
yes sir.
Like, doing something simple and good is like really good.
Yeah.
Like, you know. Now, this is kind of to Brett's earlier point. Like, right now, it's like you could just go to ChatGPT and upload a picture and be like,
Of course.
roast me. You know, like, and you kind of get the same thing, right? So I'm like, like, not so much, right?
Overly elaborate, yeah.
Yeah, but like, now if you like, plug that into an iMessage chat plugin, and it's like, oh, you're in a chat, and now I can like, someone writes back to me, and I can be like, roast them. You know, like, and it like looks at the rest of the chat and suggests, you know, gives me 3 roasts. It's getting better, you know, like, I don't know, that's cooler, more fun, like, and that doesn't have to be rocket science to go viral and
Of course.
you know, be interesting, right? So
Yeah, we all got these friends who are like are the funniest people on text. You could be that with AI, I think.
Yeah. Anything you read?
I mean, I don't really get it. Like, I understand, like, I mean, you know, roasting is funny, and like, there's all those famous roasts on, was it Comedy Central or whatever. I think you gotta have something beyond this, because this is super duper easy. Like, I could create this with very, very, very little code.
Of course.
Yeah. So yeah, I think and the other one might be like, what happens after this? Like
Right.
Yeah.
Like what happens after you generate it? Doing something with it.
Having
More
the
interesting.
full loop of like how you share and what
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
and like telling a story about it, and
Yeah.
like, now they can roast you back, and you're like poking at each other in a really
Keep
playful
score,
way, and
right,
like
you know.
Yeah.
keep score, who has the best roast. I mean, there's
I think I'll come back with like that iMessage
Yeah, think
form
more about
factor.
that.
Way better, yeah.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Good job. All right, that was great. And yeah, great job for everybody. We're right on time, which somehow always works out. And I know you probably don't care about, but I do. So makes me feel good. And it's time to talk to Brett. So Brett, thanks for listening to all that. This is like a kind of a new, as you know, this is our first time doing this class this way.
Yeah,
and it's
I
like
think
been
it's really cool.
A new format. So now we've like warmed you up.
All
Like,
right,
you've
good.
seen all the pitches, like
Yeah.
you know. So now we're going to ask you to, as I mentioned, Brett's a serial entrepreneur. He's founded many companies. He's invested in a lot of companies. He's seen a lot of pitches. And I asked him, I said, dig deep. I want you to give us, when I met him, he was starting with our voice. And like, he gave me the pitch. And honestly, I was like, I swear to God, this company went public. This was like a very successful company. And I was like, I don't fucking know if that's going to work. But like, you know, like Brett's really successful. He's done this stuff before. Like, all right, let me just like try to help Brett. So anyway, so Brett's going to give you the pitch.
Yeah.
And then also show you a demo. And then you'll get to ask him some questions.
Great. So let me set some context for this. It's not going to make any sense, because I was thinking about the fact that the people in this room are actually, you weren't born when I started Bizarre Voice, which is kind of crazy for me to say, right? But it's true. So back in 2005, when I started the company, just to put it in context, it was 2 years before the iPhone came out. Facebook was closed to the public. It just existed at a handful of universities. The rest of social didn't exist. There was no such thing as Snapchat, no such thing as TikTok, no such thing as Instagram, no such thing as Snapchat, etc. Right? It's just none of that stuff except for Facebook really existed, and it wasn't clear that Facebook was going to be successful, because you know, Friendster had come before and all these things that didn't work, MySpace. And only 3 retailers in the entire United States had customer reviews on their websites. Okay, so the web was not really a very social place when it came to commerce. So that's the backdrop. And just imagine that I'm walking into VC offices and they're thinking, wow, this is a very foreign concept, versus where you're at today, which, you know, you start the day with social and end the day with social, right? That wasn't the way it was. So I'm Brett Hurt. I'm a serial entrepreneur, basically from here in Austin. I started programming when I was 7 years old, and I grew up in a family of retailers. I actually graduated recently from from the Wharton School. And at Wharton, I actually did my paper on Sam Walton, who is the founder of Walmart and wrote that terrific book, Made in America. And one of the things that was amazing about Sam is you'd constantly go in the store and really see what's going on. And these stores are very social places, right? People can talk with associates, they can get information, sometimes there's demos of products, they can talk with fellow customers, they can also place a call to somebody that also shops at Walmart if they're thinking about a high consideration product like a grill that's very expensive for them. And you know, one of the things that I think is missing right now in e-commerce is that it's not a very social place. And so I've started this company called Bazaar Voice. And Bazaar Voice literally translated means the voice of the marketplace. And the reason I've called it Bazaar Voice is there's two reasons behind that name. One, we've been talking to each other about products since the dawn of commerce. Like, you're gonna trust what I tell you if you relate to me about a movie I just saw much more than an ad. That's just the way we're wired. That's actually one of the most beautiful things about humanity, in that we're wired that way. And you know, this crazy medium that we're in now with e-commerce has so much promise, but it's just so flat. You know, most websites have no kind of life. It's just like a catalog that you go and shop. You can't tell what other people think about those products. And you know, you can go and search on Google and look at blogs and things like that, but what if the social experience was actually in the e-commerce site itself? And believe it or not, that's really hard for a company to have. And the reason why is they really care about their brand. You know, someone like Walmart isn't gonna let people write reviews of their products if they're racist or sexist, or there's some kind of, like, you know, bad Easter egg in them that really poisons the well. They really care about what appears on there. And so the reason that you don't see a lot of social features on e-commerce sites outside of Amazon today is that there's great risk to the brand. And so they need an entire service to host that for them, make them social, continue to have them be ahead of the curve on it, and ultimately give people the trust they need to buy in a medium where they literally cannot touch or feel the product. And one of our first customers is Petco. And Petco was like most retailers in the United States. Only 3 retailers today have customer reviews on their websites. Believe it or not, I know that some of us shop on Amazon, but you know, Walmart largely dismisses Amazon. Walmart kind of says, you know, in this year 2005, it's not really that big. I think it's the biggest threat to Walmart. But you know, look at this product on Petco. So this is a Purina Pro Plan sensitive skin and stomach salmon and rice formula dog food. And it has 5,536 reviews. It also has all these answered questions. So I can click on that and I can immediately start to relate to other people that are viewing this product. I can see images of this product. I can really kind of quickly assess whether or not this is right for my dog, which I really care about a lot. I can also go up here and see answered questions, like where people are asking questions about, you know, this specific product. Can I feed this dog to my 11-pound Cavalier King Charles dog? Well, maybe that's similar to my dogs. My dogs actually, Josh knows my dogs, they weigh around 11 pounds each. And I could really zoom in and focus on that. And I think that Amazon has it right. There's no public quotes from Jeff Bezos on how well customer reviews work to drive conversion on Amazon. And one of the things that's frustrating to me is I founded Core Metrics before. Core Metrics really provided the e-commerce metrics layer for retailers. So I've got a lot of credibility in this space. I'm on the board of shop.org, which is the largest conference that e-commerce people go to, and is part of the National Retail Federation. And you know, I'm going into this space with that type of credibility, but Jeff Bezos has never publicly said how well it converts, and I think it's because he realizes this is a secret conversion gold mine. And so this is where we're placing our arrow, and we're managing it as an entire service. We're handling the hosting, we're handling the moderation of this, and then there's immense analytical value in terms of how the retailer can dive into this data that we're providing for them in an analytics interface to really learn about which products are working, why they're working. If they have a product that is getting a lot of visitors but not a lot of conversion, they can find out if there's something wrong with the product. They can give this feedback to the manufacturers, and we think that's going to create a real collaborative loop. Actually, Sam Walton talked a lot about that in the early days of Walmart. So I think this is going to be a really big company, and I think there will be many different products that we can launch as a result of this. I think it's going to be very sticky too, because retailers, once they have us on their site, it's not like they're going to hire the team to staff this up, and we'll be able to learn across lots of retailers how to do this well and be able to apply that service model to ultimately help them really be world-class at social. And our prediction is that the social wave is coming, and we actually named our company Bizarre Voice after chapter 4 of the Clue Train Manifesto, which came out in 1999, and that chapter is called Markets or Conversations, and it's making this prediction that there's a social wave coming. And one of the organizations that got founded recently is by my friend Andy Cernovitz, called the Word of Mouth Marketing Association, and they have also made the same prediction. So we think something's really big is coming, and we think it's really big because of the fact that we've always been wired this way as human beings, and it's just time for online e-commerce to get much more social and much higher converting, and for retailers not to do so much guessing about how to make their customers really happy with the products they're offering. Thank you.
All right, so that was our time machine, going back in time, more than 20 years to when started Bizarre Voice. Now, as you know, you can stay up there because you're going to ask questions.
Great.
Now, as you know, pretty much every website has ratings and reviews on it, and a lot of that's because of Bizarre Voice. They put it on most of the sites, and they really kind of made that part come true of showing that actually putting the reviews on your site makes you sell more stuff, not less stuff, and you know, makes your products better. So
yeah, and I'll just make one point. Like, you know, entrepreneurship is always a combination of grit and luck, and all of you, I'm sure, have grit. But the best type of luck is timing luck. And so we made this bet on this prediction, and we had strong conviction about that bet, but we could have never known how big that social wave was that was coming. And that's why it became such a big company. I mean, the wealthiest Texan is Michael Dell, and Michael Dell had the convergence of the internet and the beginning of e-commerce to power that build-to-order model for Dell PCs, which his insight was, why should you build PCs that go on a shelf in retail stores when you can just ask the customer what they want and they can spec it out, and then you build to order? And the reason he became much wealthier than me or Josh, you know, and a multi-billionaire, is that he hit the right inflection point. And the best book for this is actually Pattern Breakers by Mike Maples Jr., who spends a lot of time here in Austin, helped found Tivoli and other companies. He was a real marketing genius. And his podcast, by the way, Pattern Breakers, is a phenomenal resource for you. So we hit it with the right timing, and then we had really good people It's easier to track good people if you're constantly beating your goals. The most amazing thing about Bazaar Boys is the timing was so good that we raised $3.5 million in our Series A. Austin Ventures led that, and we only used around $2 million of that to get to cash flow break even. And when we went public, we had only raised $23 million, and we had $13 million left in the bank at $100 million of ARR, about 6.5 years from starting the company. So it's a combination of not just the right timing, but the right people. Like the number one thing, actually I'll ask you this question before I give you the answer. What do you think was our biggest challenge in getting this off the ground the first 2 years? What do you think, if you put yourself in the perspective of a retailer, what would the biggest challenge be in accepting this? Yeah.
Go ahead, retailer. It's like, I think about you pitching to a retailer.
Yeah, like why would the retailer say,
No.
like how are they gonna challenge you in this?
They haven't seen like a big conflict. They have to agree with this whole prediction of social shopping.
Okay, that's one, yeah.
They're mainly concerned about what happens if someone puts like negative reviews.
That's the number one thing. They were terrified of what happens. They would tell us like, you have to be crazy. Like, we're gonna put this on our website. We're ordering all this stuff from China, and it's gonna sit in a warehouse unsold because people are gonna bash our products. And in the episode I did with Ethan Holland of Love Conquers Fear, he's one of our first customers at Bazaar Boys. It's a really fun episode because I was pitching him as he became like our 6th customer, and he was the e-commerce guy at Burpee Seeds, which is over 150-year-old company. It's one of the oldest U.S. companies. And his boss was yelling at me on the phone. He was like, "We are not going to put this crap on the Burpee Seeds website. Like, we've been at this for 150 years. We tell people what to buy, et cetera, et cetera." And I put the phone on mute, and there were other salespeople in the room. And I said, "Guys, honestly, this plane is going down, and we are crashing and burning into the ground, And then I have that moment, right? That divine inspiration, that eureka moment. I took it off, and I told everybody, I was like, "Hey, watch what's going to happen here." I took it off mute. And I said, "Don, have you heard of kryptonite buy clocks?" He was like, "What does that have to do with anything?" Like, kryptonite buy clocks? We're a seed company. And I was like, "Go to Google right now and type in kryptonite buy clock." I was like, "You will see in the top 3 search results that on YouTube, there's a video that tells you how to pick a kryptonite buy clock with a big pin. And kryptonite is too ignorant to know about this. And this is causing massive, massive brand damage for them. This is going viral right now." I was like, "Respectfully, you've been in business for 150 years. Do you want to be the next kryptonite buy clock, or do you want to protect Burpee Seeds?" And there was this long, like 1 minute long pause, this silence, you could like cut the air with a knife. Felt very awkward. I didn't say anything, he didn't say anything. He's like, "Damn it, all right, we'll do it." And what the story that Ethan Holland tells on episode 4 of Love Conquers Fear is that they then had their kryptonite buy clock moment. They literally had a moment like that. They launched a seed starter kit, and it got a 1.5 average review. People hated it. They reformulated the product because they could see what people really thought about it, because the modality is they're telling each other what they think about the product. They're not actually thinking that much about Burpee Seeds. They're like, "Hey, I want to help my fellow man, woman, etc. I want to help my fellow shopper here." We're kind of in the seed category of gardeners. And it turned into their best-selling product after they reformulated the V2. So it really transformed e-commerce, and today it has over 14,000 customers in over 50 international languages, and it's deployed worldwide, everywhere you can think of, from Israel to Germany to France to Australia to Japan, et cetera, et cetera. It's almost every country you can think of. has Bizarre Voice today. And the reason it's durable is that we handled all of it for them, the moderation, the services. And one of the neat things about services in software as a service, stressing that last S of the SaaS model, is that you actually get to learn on the customer's dime. And what I mean by that is, like, you're learning across many dozens and then hundreds and thousands of customers how to build a playbook, because each individual retailer is only learning from themselves. They may pick up some things, they go to an industry conference, they may have some friends that work at other retail companies, but you have the compounding learning effect from learning from all of them. So big part of what Josh and I discussed in episode 5 is what's durable in the age of AI is something that's highly verticalized, requires a lot of services, and ultimately it's not obvious how it could get to over $1 billion of ARR, because things that could get to 10 or 100 billion, they're just that big. It's the big companies now that are leading with AI, they'll go for that. But they won't go for something, believe it or not, that can get to $1 billion. It's not going to move the needle for them. But if you start a company that goes from 0 to even 100 million of AR, 200 million of AR, you will have a transformative impact on the people that work with you and the wealth that you make from it, and the high that you get from that and putting something out in the world. So this is a really amazing time for capitalism. Like, the barrier to creativity is being shattered like never before, which is great, but it's also one of the most dangerous times to be an entrepreneur, because you could have the problem that Jasper AI had here in Austin. You know, they went from 0 to over $1 billion valuation so fast, and then ChatGPT came out, and what Jasper did is it allowed people to access OpenAI's APIs pre-ChatGPT to write marketing emails, stuff like that. And people thought it was magical, because it really was. But then ChatGPT came out, and it's like, well, now you can just do it for $20 a month. No need for Jasper, right? And they've been trying to recover ever since. So it's a really, really fascinating time. But there's never been a better time to create a company that could become over $1 billion exit very quickly. But there's never been a more dangerous time too, in terms of how fast everybody else can move, including your competitors. But I think this is the golden age of capitalism for at least the next 5 to 6 years. So I would totally go for it, but you gotta have luck, time and luck on your side, and I would think deeply verticalized is my advice if you're going to do something in software.
There's going to always be a lot of value in really understanding the problem and a customer. You're going to be able to use the tools in a better way and do more interesting things.
Yeah.
So,
and there's probably like 1 million business ideas. I mean, take any industry that you have any heart for. I don't care what it is. I mean, let's say that your dad or mom was in waste management, and you're like, I'm going to modernize waste management with AI. I'm going to create a heavily verticalized solution. I'm going to talk with all the most amazing people in waste management. Chapter 16 of my book, Entrepreneur's Essentials, is how to identify the cool kids in any industry, and then kind of surround sound them and learn from them. And there's cool kids in waste management. They speak at the waste management conferences. They serve on the waste management boards. I mean, shop.org for me and e-commerce was where the cool kids hung out. And just go in and say, I'm going to create the ultimate solution you need to run the business. It's going to be AI powered and help you modernize, and then create the services around it to help them and everything else. But just make sure it's authentic for you, because life's too short for you as an entrepreneur to not do something that is truly authentic. Like, you really have to care, and if you really care about it with your customers, it'll show. Like, part of my desire to do things in retail came from growing up in a retail family and really caring about that. And everybody has something that they really deeply care about. So you've got to find out what that is for you. And sometimes, by the way, you don't know until you go out and try and, you know, test some different things out and then find out what it is that pulls you, and nobody has to push you to do it. It just pulls you. It just magically, you want to do it because you get in a state of flow when you're doing it. And all of you have something that you could modernize as an industry. I mean, literally, there's like over 1 million business ideas that you could apply to different verticals around the world.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, so clearly today, Bizarre Voice is, I mean, it's pretty sticky, but in the first few years, I'd be curious to hear, like, what churn was for you guys as you were signing your first
Yeah. Yeah, so churn was low because it was sticky, because one of the things that we didn't know with only 3 retailers having customer reviews is there are a lot of VCs that pass because they're like, oh, this is only going to work for books, or this is only going to work for electronics. They had that assumption because they were kind of conditioned by Amazon. And I was like, no, I actually think it's going to work incredibly well for fishermen. And they'd be like, what do you mean fishermen? I'm not going to do that online. I'm like, you haven't met my dad. Like, my dad invented the first salmon fishing line. We spent 2 to 3 days every single week fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. And I said, you have no idea how much he talks to his friends about that. And what we found is that every single category of retailers Bizarre Voice worked for, but for the ones that were the most verticalized, like Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, oh my gosh, it was crazy. Like, the number of reviews written per purchase was like way out the charts. The ones with the least were like Walmart. Why Walmart? Because it stands for everything. Therefore, it stands for nothing, right? It stands for value, right? But there's no brand affinity. And so the thing that made it the stickiest of all at Bizarre Voice, and I honor kind of pitching it how I would pitch it back then, but the biggest thing we stumbled on is that the brands like P&G and 3M and L'Oreal and Estee Lauder, these big brand holding companies, they ultimately had lots of their own individual websites. And most of them you couldn't shop on, but you could see all the products. And we had the idea of, hey, for people like Walmart, what if we went to their brands and launched on their brand websites and then syndicated from the brand websites into Walmart? And that worked insanely well and became the biggest part of Bizarre Voice's business because we were going with the grain. There's a chapter in the book, my book, The Entrepreneur's Essentials, about this, about finding natural network effects. I can't remember, I think it's chapter 8 or 9. But basically, brands and retailers always colluded, and it's called channel development funds. And if you go into a Walgreens and you see an end cap, you know, this kind of cardboard box, you know, insert on the end of an aisle, you know, trying to get you to buy Coldies or something like that. Coldies pays to have that installed in the store, and they pay for that access. And we thought, okay, the brands have the money, they have the margin, the retailers are selling on very thin margin. And so we went to the brands, and when it was really game over, when we knew we had something that was going to be $1 billion company, was when Walmart started to push every brand to get on Bizarre Voice. Best Buy started to push every brand to get on Bizarre Voice. The Home Depot started to push every brand to get on Bizarre Voice. They said, we want to standardize, all of you must sign up with them ASAP. And that was nirvana, because now we had a network effect where if you fired us, like if Walmart walked away from Bizarre Voice, they would lose the network connectivity and all the retail, or all the brand reviews that were written by real customers, but there's no way Walmart could have gotten that volume. Like, I'll never forget launching on Tide, Like, who's gonna write reviews on Tide detergent? And we got like 550 reviews on Tide Pods in like a couple of weeks. And Walmart, even though they're so big, they had like 5. And so then we started syndicate, and then we proved through A/B test that it drove such a lift in conversion on the Walmart site that then all the Tide Pod competitors had to get in and everything else. So that's how we created that real tipping point. And I didn't know that would happen, or I would have included it in the Series A pitch, right, and gotten a better valuation. So, yeah.
So back then, all the data was being, like right now, everyone's like, who owns the data? Who owns the data? Back then, the conversations weren't really about that yet?
No. A great question. In our case, the retailer did own the data, but we were housing it. Theoretically, they could have taken it and done it in-house, but we knew that they weren't going to. And the price of Bazaar Voice, we did a lot of total cost of ownership analysis for them. And we'd say, hey, if you built this in-house and you hired the team to moderate this to your standards, it would cost you 3 to 4 times what you're paying us, because we're doing it at scale. And we've got tons of internal efficiency tools. And the thing that made Bazaar Voice durable outside the network effect is there used to be this really cheesy kind of sales graphic where it'd show an iceberg and it would just show you the little tip of the iceberg coming out of the ocean, and then underneath it was like this massive, iceberg. And we'd say, look, what you're seeing as a consumer, like what I just showed you on Petco, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There is all this stuff that you would have to do if you want to do it in-house. And the reason that retailers didn't do it in-house was actually to the person in the back. I don't know your name, but whatever, what's your name?
Ishan.
What's it?
Ishan.
Yeah, so Ishan's observation that they were so terrified of negative reviews and of their brand being polluted. Like, imagine if you worked at one of those companies and some racist review posted, and now you're the one whose ass is on the line. So like, they wanted, I'll never forget the call I got from the head of PR at Walmart. We were just about to sign them. And the head of PR called me. I was an executive team offsite. We're talking strategy for a couple of days. And she said, I just want you to understand, Brett, we are the most talked about person, place, or thing in the United States, in the media, outside of the president. Like, my job is hell. And she's like, if you mess up one time, you're fired, and I will make sure everybody know why you messed up. And I went back in the executive team meeting. I was like, hey, everybody. I was like, we got to really double up on Walmart, before we launched them. So we read every Walmart review 3 times prior to it posting with real people. And one of the amazing things is when we started Bazaar Voice, it was when Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat, came out. And a lot of VCs were like, offshore, offshore, offshore. I mean, Josh actually saw this back in the Trilogy days. Joe Lamont got into this, just offshore everything bent. Because now we're globally connected, you could just have all your programming done in India or whatnot instead of America. And my VCs were pressuring me to offshore the moderation of the reviews. And I said, first of all, if we mess up, this is really bad. I said, secondly, I want to build these jobs in America. And at the beginning, it was more expensive than if we offshored it to like Singapore or, actually it's the Philippines that we were considering for that. And we were able to hire primarily stay-at-home moms in Texas. Houston is a very multilingual city. You have native language Chinese, native language Japanese, etc. It's one of the most international cities in the world. So between Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, we were able to moderate in 40 plus international languages with stay-at-home moms who on things like the SAT or the GMAT scored at the 98th or greater percentile. and they were just looking for viable work to keep their brain active because the kids are at school, they're mostly bored at home. And so it was primarily moms, and this isn't a gender stereotype, it's just the truth of who showed up for these jobs. And one of my most joyous things is I would take our youngest daughter, Rachel, when she was young, to, she's our oldest now, but when she was really young, I would take her to these picnics where we'd celebrate the moderators. And they would come up to me in front of Rachel and say things like, I used to work at the Disney store. I wasn't getting to see the kids that much. Now I work on something that engages my brain. I can do it any hours I want, and I just want to thank you. And I would always say, I appreciate that, but like, realize it's the whole company, right? It's all of us as a team, and people make things too much about the CEO. I'm just doing my role as a person in this company. And she got to see that over and over again. It was so cool. Like, we'd go to these picnics and there'd be like hundreds of these stay-at-home, primarily stay-at-home moms. Like, I think only 5% were men that did that job. And it may also have been something about the brain wiring that women were better at language and that cognitive ability too, because the female brain actually is better wired for the current phase of humanity's evolution than the male brain, because it's much more lit up even in rest states, and that makes the female brain better for assessing language. So it may have actually even been just the female candidates always beat out the males. That's possible too. Yep.
You mentioned a while back in a different podcast that you did 100 calls with retailers before actually starting with our voice.
Yes.
I was wondering, what is something that people nowadays do wrong while talking to customers, and what is some things that they mess up while doing those conversations?
So what are things that people do wrong when they're doing the first party analysis, like they're making calls to prospective customers? You know, it's really hard to mess that up, and you have the company wrong. So that was with Core Metrics, because Bizarre Voice, remember, I already had the embedded advantage of knowing a lot of these retailers. So with Core Metrics, you know, it's 26. I had built my own e-commerce site and my own metrics to go along with it, and I wanted to make it much more comprehensive for myself. And I went to meet with friends at Amazon and CD Now who said, you need to build this. This is better than metrics that we have. And I was like, really? I was like, how's that even possible? And there's a whole story behind that in terms of the time that we were in. There wasn't cloud computing. You had to have your own data center. IT was too buried to install the software needed to do web analytics. And so I went to all these retailers and our team as well, and we just asked them, we said, look at the analytics system we have, how would you make it better? And by doing that, we were able to then show up at other retailers eventually and then be like, it was like you were thinking of everything I needed. And the only way you can mess that up is if you build features that a real pioneer wants, but isn't ready for the mass market. And I used to have this story about Ethan Holland. You know, it's funny that he was on episode 4, because I used him as an example of where you could go too far. Ethan is very much a visionary. You can tell that from watching that episode. Like, he's been there since the beginning of the internet, the web. You know, he was one of the first readers of Wired, one of the first bloggers, et cetera, et cetera. And so he thinks like a visionary. He's very, very unique in that. And I would joke around inside of Bizarre Voice. I said, look, remember the Pareto principle. Like, we need to take in this feedback and then build around 20% of what the 80% need, right? Or actually, the way to say it is, out of the features we need to build the funnel, we looked at what that 20% was that would hit 80% of the market. Okay, so let's say we have 100% of a feature list, and what's the 20% we should build that'll hit 80, that everybody will need? And I said, look, if we listen to Ethan Holland, we'll build rotating 3-dimensional views in Second Life. Second Life was a online community back then that was like VR, pre-VR, that you could walk around in, and you had an avatar, and it was very kind of clunky. And there were brands like American Eagle and stuff like that literally built stores in Second Life. Okay, they were like super on the cutting edge. And Second Life ended up failing because it was just too early, you know. And it used terms like the metaverse way before, like William Gibson's novel had just come out. You know, I think Snow Crash had just come out as well by Neil Stephenson. And so you really can, if you fall in love with an idea because you think it's really cool and geeky, but the rest of the market, most of the market doesn't need it, then you can mess it up. So you just gotta validate that these aren't completely far-fetched, like super futuristic things that people aren't ready for. And it's hard, that is a little bit hard to do because you can fall in love with the futurist. Because to be an entrepreneur in technology, you probably grew up reading science fiction, and you probably grew up dreaming about the future, or at least watching science fiction. And so part of you is crazy enough to be like, hey, I can invent the future and manifest the future that we want. So you got to be a little, there has to be a little bit of craziness in you to be an entrepreneur in the first place, because you know you're going to show up at the Thanksgiving table with people saying, hey, I'm working on this app company that I've created, etc. And it's called, you know, Slingshot. I go, I've never heard of Slingshot. And then someone else, you know, your brother is like, hey, I'm working at Meta, and they're just like, oh, thank goodness, like you're gonna do fine, right? So that's really hard. Entrepreneurship is very humbling. Like most people just think you're gonna fail because probability-wise, most ventures do fail. But you know, don't ever underestimate your ability if you have really strong conviction about this is where the world is heading, even if everybody tells you you're crazy. And you know, Mike Maples Jr. I was talking about earlier with Pattern Breakers, when he showed up to, his biggest regret is not investing in Airbnb, and he said when he showed up, he would have made 7,000 times his money, by the way, on that. He said he would have been on the Forbes Midas list for a decade, just from that one investment. But when he showed up to them, he showed up at their apartment that they're renting out a room, and they were self-funding the business by selling cereal boxes of either Obama O's or you know, who was Obama running against back then? I should know this, but whoever Obama was running against, McCain maybe or something. But either way, I voted for Obama. But they were selling these cereal boxes, and he's like, okay, someone's going to get murdered in your apartment. You guys really don't have a pitch, and you're selling cereal, right? But what he missed is they were thinking completely differently about all the real estate and the shift that could occur from hotels and all the inventory needed. And you know, they became one of the most valuable companies in the world. And he also missed like how genius they were and how driven they were to even be creative enough to like self-fund with these cereal, you know, with these made-up cereals to get it off the ground. But he was really, the main thing he was worried about was someone was going to get murdered in their apartment, or some apartment that they hosted that then Airbnb'd out. That was just, he didn't trust. And you know, that a lot of people passed on Uber for that same way. Like, really gonna let a stranger drive you around that's not even regulated? And you know, what if that person's like crazy? And we've actually seen some stories like that, right? And Uber got a lot of flack in the last year on that with women getting assaulted, etc. So it's a real problem, but it's a small amount of the total rides, so it's still a problem. Any of that's unacceptable. But those are the types of things that get people to pass. It's like you can't see the paradigm shift of the gig economy coming. That term didn't even exist. Yeah.
So I have a question about that, like, I guess like short story like novella that you just released, The Lattice.
Yeah,
You
sure.
just
Yeah.
released that like a couple weeks ago, right?
Oh yeah.
So like, you know how like you like, I guess, sort of paint the picture of like AI and like all these like, you know, and like data collection and this sort of thing that changes the world and like makes it so much better. Like
Yes. Yeah. The age of abundance for all. That's what I'm
yeah,
calling
exactly.
it. Yep.
The age of abundance.
Mhm.
So do you think that that's like technically feasible? And then adding on to that, like, what do you think is like the biggest roadblock in it? Like, is that like innovation, government regulation? Like, what do you think?
Well, so AI 100% think that it's going to happen and it's feasible. The biggest risk is not government intervention. Well, it is in a way government intervention, and the biggest risk is humanity. So it's not the Terminator scenario, it's not the Matrix, it's not machines killing us, it's us leveraging this technology to continue to oppress people. Like right now, the Matrix is here right now. We are being constantly manipulated by the media, which I'm a big believer in the free press. It's not a critique of the free press, I'll make that clear. It is a critique of the business model, which is easier for me to hijack your amygdala and push you the latest dystopian story to your phone, because that'll get you to react, versus if I send you the latest story about a climate change technology breakthrough, that gets you to click less than if I send you a story of a murder or something. In a world of 8.2 billion people, there's always something bad happening every day, but we mostly live in a world where beauty, love, connection is happening the majority of the time. But we wouldn't know it if you just sat back and let the dystopian feed come to you, whether it's through social media, whether it's through the regular media. So the Matrix is here, it's just a self-created prison. But the technology curve that we're in with AI, quantum computing, robotics, brain-computer interfaces is so steep. Every week of technology development to me feels like a year 10 years ago. And it's going to get steeper and steeper and steeper because it's exponential. The biggest risk is we use this technology to destroy ourselves. Technology is always how you use it. It is a deliberate choice for Meta to use their technology to algorithmically try to program you. Because it's good money. Meta made $45 billion in free cash flow last quarter. $45 billion is what allows Mark Zuckerberg to say, I'm going to spend $600 billion by 2028 building AI data centers. Okay, that's a lot of money. That's an unfathomable amount of money. That's way more inflation adjusted than we spent on the Manhattan Project versus the Nazis, or the space race versus the Russians. Inflation adjusted. So the biggest risk is us, and what humanity has to do is transcend out of the fear-based scarcity, zero-sum mindset. This notion of if China gets AGI before us, it's all over for the US. If we get AGI before China, it's all over for them. It's ridiculous in a world of 8.2 billion people, especially with the fact that these technologies are so powerful and are going to touch everything. I mean, AI is like electricity, that we're going to be able to invent so many things. I mean, I think we're going to be able to have unlimited energy from the sun. I think the same thing that happened with AlphaFold with protein folding decoding, which is going to create an unfathomable number of medicines to solve our diseases, is going to happen with material science. The same thing. They're going to play. There's going to be an alpha for everything. I mean, started with AlphaGo, AlphaFold. I think there's something called AlphaFlow, like for workflow. There already is AlphaChip. Not a lot of people talk about that. Google is using AlphaChip to constantly improve internally how they design their own AI chips to get off the NVIDIA platform and start to control their own destiny there. And so the biggest risk is us. And just to pronounce like how big this risk is, and I'm 95% certain that we make it, okay? I mean, technology-wise, I'm 100% certain that the technology will take us to that place of abundance in this lifetime for all of us. The biggest risk, if I just kind of first arrived on this planet, I knew nothing about it, and I said, where's the risk? I would focus on the fact we have nuclear weapons today. There's 13,000. And then I would say, what percentage of those would it take to destroy all the major cities in the world and send the world into a nuclear winter that lasts a decade? Do you know what that percentage is? Just take a guess.
Like
somebody that hasn't already seen this on the podcast, what's your guess?
2%, 10%, something like that.
What did you say?
Like 10%.
Okay. What else was another guess? what percentage of today's already built nuclear arsenal do you think it would take?
Every city?
Every major city in the world.
Oh, so like half percent, right?
It's 2%. Humanity has 50 times the amount it needs today. 50 times. And then if I was that same kind of, new earthling, and I said, well, is humanity making these today? China's never made more than they're making right now. The US is making a lot. And then there's a DoD term for this, right? Josh has all these Army Futures and all this great, and I'm a big fan of all that. But there's a DoD term for this. What do you think the DoD term is? You know what the term is? The acronym for it is MAD, Mutually Assured Destruction. It's a hijack to our amygdala. And it literally is insane. And so we have a disease internally that we need to cure. And we're being forced to grapple with that by this exponential curve. And this is the number one thing I'm exploring in the podcast, is how does humanity make it to this age of abundance for all? Because the technology is going to take us there for sure. I'm 100% certain of that. 18 seconds of the sun, if we could just capture that, would power the entire world's energy needs for well over a year. Just 18 seconds. We just have to figure out how to capture it in a way that's consumable. And if you look at solar prices, they're just plunging. And it's just obvious that it's going to be nearly free. We're going to have nearly free energy in the world, which will allow us to do almost anything, because everything starts with energy. So the biggest risk is us, not the machines. It's how we use the technology. And it's always been the case since the discovery of fire. You could use it to cook your food, warm your homes, or you could use it to set people on fire. Every technology is always how you use it, and so we have to transcend our own core nature. And it's a tall order, right? But that's the main thing that's one of the podcast.
That might be a good spot to wrap on. Do you have any last advice for students back,
I mean, the big thing
thinking
is,
back to when you were in
and
school?
I really mean this from the bottom of my heart. Like, you guys should be proud of the fact that you're brave enough to stand up here and do this. I would have been absolutely terrified at your age to do that. I don't think I publicly spoke at all until I was like 24. And so I literally would have been just paralyzed. And you guys gave some really good pitches, and you now have these super powerful tools like, I use Cloud Code, I use Cursor, I use Work, the AI terminal. These things are not hard to learn, and so you really can be very creative. The number one thing that I saw, if I kind of wrap up all the feedback from today, is just get out there and talk to people that actually would really use your product, and then bring those stories into your pitch, because you don't build things in a vacuum. Nobody in here probably is the next Steve Jobs. I mean, and I think it's a fable that Steve Jobs just built things in a vacuum. I think he had a lot more input and influences than people actually give it credit for. But that, let's just say that he was a once in a lifetime genius that just knew what consumers needed. I would much rather be humble enough to just go out there and ask people what they need, and then synthesize that feedback and be able to storytell about my conviction about what they need. And that's super fun, because people love to talk with students. I mean, you can leverage that card all day long, because they see in you what maybe a shadow of what they wanted to be themselves, and they can live vicariously through you, right? And you'll feel the same way when you're older. I'm still at it, like I'm still entrepreneuring, and I'll probably be doing that till the day I die. Josh knows me well, but just have confidence and keep grinding. I was really impressed overall by today, and it's a real honor to be here. And you're really lucky to be with this guy. I mean, he doesn't need me to say this, but it's true. I wrote on LinkedIn today when I shared the episode. Like, I think Josh may be the most important person right now in Austin for startups in Austin. So it's a real honor to be both his friend and be here and be in this space, which I remember seeing this space when nobody was here, and it was just a twinkle in your eye. So congrats to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brett. Let's give Brett a round of applause. All right. So, wrapping up just on time. Next week,
we have Alex Moore coming in. Alex was the first employee at Palantir. Has anybody heard of Palantir? Many of you have heard of Palantir. Palantir is one of the most successful AI companies. They're one of the most successful defense dual-use companies. They are one of the most successful just recent companies. And now they look like a really obvious sure thing success. Like they're really big and they are beating out all the big traditional companies. But for a long time they were like the kind of like SpaceX. Like, you know, everybody was doubting them and talking shit about them, right? And now they're the shit. Alex, after doing that, founded 8VC with Joe Lonsdale, the founder of Palantir, one of the founders of Palantir. And the two of them live here in Austin, along with many number of others. And they're really active and really great investors. We love investing with them. If they invested in a company, like, I'm super interested in it already. Like, what is it? What are they doing? You know, like, how do we get involved? They incubate companies, like, which most VCs cannot do. But they come up with ideas, they work with people and help them launch the company. They did that with Saronic. Has anybody heard of Saronic? Saronic's really one of the hottest companies in town right now. They are building autonomous boats, it's like drone boats, but like big boats. Not like, it's like, like big boats like set that table over there, 10 feet, 20 feet long, for the Navy, autonomous to go out, which is definitely the future of the naval warfare. And they've raised lots of money, very, very successful, very well known in the government. And they have lots of other great companies too. And Alex is a great entrepreneur. He's a great investor. He's a really big opportunity to have him here in front of you guys. So that's going to lead into my pitch for tonight, and for what I'm going to give you as an idea for of all the things you can build. Again, you can build any of your ideas, the things that you've heard pitched today. You can build Bazaar Voice. You could build the part that shows the ratings and reviews. You could build the backend that did the review system, like how do we review the reviews? How do we quality control them? It would be way easier. I mean, he did this. That was 2005. And he hired me to go build it. Actually,
that's right.
That's actually what happened. Yeah, he actually was getting started. He didn't have a tech team, and he was like, Josh, can your team build the beta version? Well, like we were his ChatGPT. We were his lovable.
That's right.
And because and then he hired a team to go run it. But it'd be so much easier for you to build Bazaar Voice today, even though it's hard. When they make the pitch of like how hard it was, wow, this would cost you so much to go build this yourself. It'd be a lot harder to make that pitch today. Right? Because even the content quality reviews today using AI would be so much more plausible than what it was then, when it wouldn't have worked at all.
For sure.
Right?
I would not start Bazaar Voice today.
Yeah, right? So because you guys really could go do that. And that's a company that went public. We made millions and millions of dollars off that. It was really good for everyone. Lots of people made lots of money on Bazaar Voice. Lots of millionaires in Austin because of Red, because of that company. Okay, so my thing related to a little bit to Palantir, a little bit to another company that Joe helped start that Alex was involved in called Adapar, and related to investing, is, I'm a really active angel investor, Brett is too, so I bet he has this exact same problem. We have been angel investing since before we knew anything about it or what we were doing. 20 years, right? Angel investing usually starts out at the beginning, you're not very sophisticated, you meet somebody, you like them, you say, okay, I'll write you a check. They send you an agreement, you probably don't even know what to read. So maybe you just sign it, maybe you have some lawyer look at it, and then you send them $25,000. And maybe you get a stock certificate. Maybe you get a signed contract back, or maybe you forget to ask for it, and you kind of forget about it. And then it's later in the next year, and your tax person's like, give me all your K1s. What did you invest in? You're trying to fill out your taxes, and you're trying to remember, oh shoot, do I need a K1 for that? What is that investment? And then make another investment. And some are different kinds of investments. Some of them are LLCs, some of them are C Corps, some of them are S Corps.
And you start doing this for a while, suddenly it's 20 years later and you've got like 150 investments. And I don't even remember all of them, to be honest. Like I've changed email accounts, like some of them send me weekly updates or monthly updates. Some of them are really organized and a lot of them aren't. Some of them, honestly, probably 50 of them aren't even in business anymore. I don't know which 50. And so, kind of like we're talking about the investment thing to manage your alternative investments and like your Pokemon cards. Well, my Pokemon cards are startups. And I can't keep track of all of them. And like I'm about to go hire a full-time person. Like that's all we're gonna do is like keep track. Brett has somebody at different times he's had go do this. Just try to keep track of all of them. And so the kind of things you have to keep track of is like, okay, like when's the last time I heard from them? Like what's the status of them? I'm sure they send you, some of them send updates, so you could probably just forward those updates to like something that would parse them and pull out the relevant info. The most important thing, one thing is like, well, what's my money, what's it worth? Right? Some of that these days is on Carta or other places like that, some aren't, so some of you might be able to pull from other places. But you want to know, like, well, I invested $25,000, what's my $25,000 worth now? You want to know, sometimes the company like gets sold and you didn't even realize it. Usually that means it wasn't very good. You didn't get any money back. But who knows, sometimes it did and they just didn't know how to contact you because it was 10 years ago that you invested and you didn't see the email or you didn't see the notice, right? So these are the kind of problems angel investors have. I don't know if it sounds like real to you or real problems. But these are real problems. Like there's a lot of money on the line, but it's worth it. Like I bet if I just searched through all that, I'd go find $100,000 somewhere. Pretty sure, like I said, I'm about to hire someone. That's the job is going to be keep track of all that. So there's tools out there to go do that, like for public company investors, to track all your investments and give you a dashboard and keep them up to date, pull the data in from different places. Hey, Ryan. We had Brian, another Bizarre Voice employee for many, many years growing up. You see Brett up here? Yeah.
Ryan. Hey, Brett. How you doing?
Ryan, when I moved here to Austin in 1999, Ryan, right out of college, and Ryan also was right out of college with me at Trilogy.
You guys ever roommates?
We weren't roommates, but somebody took our hair. We both have lost all our hair since then. Anyway, good to see you. Small world. So, what Stormy's got something. Hold on. Come here. No. Oh, she's like, I'm just so guilty. Sorry, Dad. Okay. So that's what I'd like. I would like something to manage all my angel investments, keep track of them. Ideally, I would just like when I make an angel investment, I would just forward it the contract. I get an email, right? It's like here, and you can probably read the contract and like figure out like most of the info you need and start tracking it. And then when I get updates, I can forward those and so and then like which ones we have updates and which ones we don't, and what's the status of it, and help me keep track of them. And ideally be like kind of like an agent that went out and like did it kind of proactively as much as possible. Like told me like you need updates from these different people. This one hasn't responded to your emails, right? Oh, Tim Gasper's here too. Look at that. Tim was like, what year here? 2011 was that the year you joined Capital Factory?
2010, I think.
2010.
Nice,
yeah. So one of the second year.
It's like a Data.World reunion.
Capital
Factory.
How you doing? But before he worked at Data.World, did he work at Bizarre Voice? Just Data.World.
No.
Before he worked at Data.World.
I wish he did.
He had a startup here at Capital Factory too. See, it's such a small world. I'm just gonna keep standing there while I'm teaching my class. While Capital Factory alumni walk by and Bizarre Voice alumni. Okay, so that's the idea. I don't know if that gives you enough to work on. This might be one you need a little bit of research on because I'm guessing many of you don't have angel investments. Maybe you don't have a lot of personal experience with this. So maybe I'm wrong. But maybe so you want to you might go ask ChatGPT. Like you go say, I'm an angel investor. You're an angel investor. I'm trying to build, ChatGPT, you're an angel investor. You have a whole bunch of investments. You're trying to keep track of them. And what are the kind of problems? What would you do? You can ask them questions like that too. But I think that's cool, and I think Alex would think that's cool. And I bet actually Brett and I would both use that if you actually built it.
Yep.
All right. See you next week. 야, 이자지 가자.